My name is Jace Arnell, and I'm about to tell you how I dismantled my wife's entire world using nothing but a laptop, a smartphone, and the kind of patience that comes from years of being underestimated. It started with a text message, not the kind you'd expect from your wife of 8 years, but the kind that makes you wonder if you've been married to a stranger this whole time. My ex just ended his relationship. He asked me to be there. I stared at my phone screen in our luxury downtown condo, surrounded by the kind of modern furniture that screams, "We have money, but no taste." Kina had picked out everything, naturally. The white leather sectional that showed every stain, the glass coffee table that reflected every fingerprint, the abstract art that looked like someone had sneezed paint onto canvas and charged $5,000 for it. The text had arrived at 3:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. I know because I screenshot everything these days. Occupational hazard of being an IT security specialist, I suppose. Trust but verify, as we say in the business. Though lately it's been more verify than trust. Jace Arnell, my beautiful, manipulative, attention-addicted wife, thought she was clever. She thought I was just another tech geek who spent his days staring at code and his nights playing video games while she lived her glamorous life as a PR executive for the city's elite. She wasn't entirely wrong about the code part, but she had seriously underestimated the video games part. And more importantly, she had no idea what kind of digital surveillance tools a paranoid IT guy keeps at his disposal. I walked to our floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city and watched the afternoon traffic crawl through the streets below. From the 32nd floor, everyone looked like ants. Appropriate, considering how I was starting to feel about my marriage. My phone buzzed again, another text from Kana. "We'll be late tonight, don't wait up." Classic. The setup was so obvious it almost insulted my intelligence. Step 1. Establish emotional justification for being somewhere she shouldn't be. Step 2. Remove any expectation of normal communication or accountability. I'd seen this pattern before, but not from my wife. From hackers. Social Engineering 101. Create a plausible narrative, establish urgency, exploit trust, execute the payload. The payload, in this case, being whatever she planned to do with Travis McKenna, her supposed ex, who drove a gaudy red Maserati and owned 3 strip mall businesses that somehow generated enough income for a downtown penthouse. Yeah, I knew about Travis. Had known for about 6 weeks now. What Kana didn't realize was that her iPhone automatically backed up to our shared iCloud account, and what she really didn't realize was that I'd set up a secondary monitoring system that captured deleted messages, cleared browser histories, and even tracked location data. Paranoid? Maybe. But paranoia is just pattern recognition for people who pay attention. I opened my laptop and pulled up the dashboard I'd built to monitor our digital lives. Originally, I'd created it for home security after a break-in scare in our neighborhood. Now it served a different purpose entirely. The data painted a clear picture, late-night text to Travis that started 6 weeks ago, deleted browser searches for how to know if you still love your ex, and signs your marriage is over. Location pings from hotels, restaurants, and addresses that definitely weren't client meetings. But the real smoking gun was the credit card data. Our joint account showed charges at lingerie stores, expensive restaurants, and a weekend spa retreat that she'd told me was a mandatory company team-building exercise. Funny how mandatory company exercises required Victoria's secret purchases and dinner reservations for 2. I closed the laptop and walked to our kitchen, all granite countertops and stainless steel appliances that we used maybe twice a week. Kina preferred takeout from trendy restaurants where she could see and be seen. Image was everything in her world. My phone rang. Bobby Chen, my best friend and owner of Hardcore Fitness, the gym where I spent most of my free time lifting weights and listening to other people's relationship drama. "Jace, man, you need to get down here." Bobby's voice carried that tone that meant gossip was about to be served hot and fresh. "What's up?" "Your wife's friends are here, Mara and Tina. They're talking loud enough for the whole gym to hear, and trust me, you want to know what they're saying." I grabbed my keys. On my way. The drive to Bobby's gym took 15 minutes through downtown traffic. Hardcore Fitness occupied the ground floor of a converted warehouse in the Arts District, all exposed brick and industrial lighting. It attracted a mix of serious lifters, young professionals, and people who wanted to feel tough without actually being tough. Bobby met me at the door, his massive frame blocking most of the entrance. At 6'4" and 250 of pure muscle, he looked like he could bench press a small car, which he probably could. "They're by the cardio machines," he said, nodding toward the back corner. "Been going at it for 20 minutes. I spotted them immediately. Mara Stevenson, Kina's supposed best friend since college, was on the elliptical machine, her perfectly styled blonde hair somehow staying in place despite the workout. Tina Walsh, the brunette who always seemed to be taking photos for social media, was on the treadmill next to her, and they were definitely talking about my wife. "I'm telling you, she's making a huge mistake," Mara was saying, her voice carrying over the hum of the machines. "Travis is using her, just like he did in college." "But she won't listen," Tina replied, slightly out of breath. "She thinks this time is different because he's successful now." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I pretended to check my form in the mirror while Bobby set up a bench nearby, close enough to hear every word. "Successful?" Mara laughed, but there was no humor in it. "He's a sleaze who got lucky with some real estate deals, and now he's sniffing around Kena because he knows she's got access to all those rich clients through her PR firm. Plus, she's still married," Tina added. "To a really nice guy, by the way. Jace doesn't deserve this." My jaw tightened. Being called really nice in this context felt like being damned with faint praise. "Nice doesn't pay for Maserati payments," Mara said. "Travis is feeding her some line about how they're soulmates who got separated by circumstances, and she's eating it up." "She's been lying to everyone," Tina continued. "Told her boss she's working late on the Henderson account, told us she's having marriage counseling, told Jace she's at company events. Meanwhile, she's playing house with Travis at his penthouse," Mara finished. "It's pathetic." I'd heard enough. More than enough, actually. But as I started to leave, Mara said something that stopped me cold. "The worst part is, she's planning to ask Jace for a divorce next month. After she gets back from that weekend trip with Travis, she wants to make sure Travis is serious before she throws away her marriage." A weekend trip. That was news to me. I walked over to Bobby, who was pretending to spot an empty barbell. "Did you get all that?" he asked quietly. "Every word." I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. "Bobby, I need to ask you a favor." "Name it." "If someone were to hypothetically need an alibi for where they were this evening, would your security cameras be working?" Bobby grinned. "Hypothetically, my security system is top of the line and records everything in high definition with timestamps." "Good to know." I spent the next hour at the gym, but my mind wasn't on the workout. It was on logistics, planning, strategy. By the time I got home, I had a plan. Keena's car wasn't in our assigned parking space, which meant she was already off playing house with Travis. Perfect. I rode the elevator up to our floor and let myself into our condo. The silence felt different now. Not peaceful, but empty. Like a stage set waiting for the next act. I went straight to my home office and powered up my desktop computer. Time to get to work. First step, documentation. I downloaded every piece of evidence from the monitoring system and backed it up to 3 separate encrypted drives. Screenshots of texts, location data, credit card statements, browser histories. Everything organized and time-stamped. Second step, financial reconnaissance. I logged into our joint accounts and studied the numbers. Kena had been spending freely, assuming I wasn't paying attention. Expensive dinners, hotel charges, shopping sprees, all funded by our shared resources while she planned her exit strategy. Third step, preparation. I opened a new checking account at a different bank, one that offered immediate transfers and mobile deposit. Then I initiated the transfer of exactly half our joint savings, plus half the checking account balance. Perfectly legal, since both accounts were in both our names. But I didn't stop there. Our investment account, the one we'd built up over 8 years of marriage, was a different story. Technically joint, but funded entirely by my salary since Kena spent everything she made on maintaining her image. I transferred 70% of it to my new account, leaving her with 30%. Still generous, considering she'd contributed exactly $0 to it. The credit cards were next. I called each company and requested that my name be removed from the accounts where Kena was the primary holder. For the cards where I was primary, I reported them as potentially compromised and requested new numbers. By midnight, Kena's access to our shared financial life had been surgically reduced to exactly what she'd contributed, almost nothing. But the real masterpiece was yet to come. I opened my laptop and navigated to our smart home control system. Every light, lock, thermostat, and security camera in our condo ran through a central hub that I'd installed and configured. Kena knew how to use the basic functions, but she had no idea how the system actually worked. Time to give her an education. I programmed a series of automated responses tied to her phone's presence. When her device connected to our Wi-Fi network, the system would begin a subtle but unmistakable campaign of technological passive aggression. The thermostat would display Kena Who instead of her name. The smart TV would automatically change the channel whenever she tried to watch her favorite shows. The bathroom lights would flicker in Morse code spelling out Travis whenever she entered. Petty? Absolutely. Satisfying? More than I cared to admit. My phone buzzed with a text from Kana. Staying at Mara's tonight. Talk tomorrow. I smiled and typed back, No problem. Take your time. Then I blocked her number. The next morning, I woke up in my own bed for what felt like the first time in months. No tiptoeing around Keena's mood, no pretending not to notice her secretive phone calls, no walking on eggshells in my own home. I made coffee in our overpriced espresso machine and checked my phone. 17 missed calls from Kana, along with a string of increasingly frantic texts that I couldn't see thanks to the block I'd put in place. But I could see her activity on our shared iCloud account. She'd tried to access our banking apps around 6 a.m., probably to check her account balance before her morning Starbucks run. The failed login attempts were logged in beautiful detail. My phone rang. Bobby. Morning, sunshine. How'd you sleep? Like a baby, I said, and meant it. What's the word from the gym? Funny you should ask. Mara showed up about an hour ago, looking like someone had poured ice water down her back. She's been trying to call someone for the past 20 minutes, getting more frustrated each time. Interesting. Also interesting, Travis McKenna's red Maserati is parked outside the Starbucks on 5th Street with what looks like 4 flat tires. I nearly choked on my coffee. Really? Really. Someone also apparently filled his gas tank with what smells like sugar water and wrote cheater in the dust on his windshield. That's terrible, I said, trying to sound appropriately shocked. Who would do such a thing? No idea, but whoever it was has excellent handwriting. I hadn't actually done anything to Travis's car, but I wasn't about to correct Bobby's assumption. Sometimes the universe provides its own sense of justice. I should probably get to work, I said. Yeah, about that. You might want to check the local gossip blogs this morning. Apparently someone leaked some very interesting photos to CityBuzz. CityBuzz was the local online gossip rag that covered everything from political scandals to celebrity sightings. I'd never paid much attention to it before, but apparently someone had. I hung up and immediately navigated to their website. The headline made me grin. Local PR exec caught in hotel rendezvous with mystery man. The photos were grainy but unmistakable. Kenna and Travis entering the downtown Marriott together, his hand on the small of her back. Another shot of them in the hotel bar, her laughing at something he'd said. A third showing them getting into the elevator together. The article didn't name names, but anyone who knew Keena would recognize her immediately, and in a city this size, that meant everyone in her professional and social circles would see it within hours. My phone started ringing. Unknown number. Hello? Jace, it's Mara. We need to talk. I let the silence stretch for a few seconds. I'm sorry. Do I know you? Don't play games. I know you've seen the photos. What photos? The ones on CityBuzz? Look, I know what this looks like, but actually I have no idea what you're talking about. But I'm sure whatever it is, it's none of my business. Another pause. Jace, Keena is my friend, but what she's doing is wrong. You deserve better. Now that was interesting. I appreciate the call, Mara, but I'm not sure why you think I need to hear this. Because she's planning to leave you after she gets back from Vegas this weekend with Travis. Vegas? That was new information. Well, I said carefully, I suppose everyone has to make their own choices. You're not going to fight for her? Fight for what exactly? Someone who doesn't want to be here? I could hear Mara's frustration through the phone. She's making a mistake. Travis is using her. Then I guess she'll figure that out on her own. Jace, I hung up. 20 minutes later, my phone rang again. This time it was a number I recognized. Kena's office. Jace Arnell. Mr. Arnell, this is Jennifer Martinez. I work with your wife at Sterling Communications. Is Keena available? She was supposed to be in a client meeting an hour ago, and we can't reach her. I'm sorry, but I haven't seen Keena since yesterday. Have you tried her cell phone? Multiple times. It goes straight to voicemail. I made a sympathetic noise. That's strange. She's usually very responsive. Yes, that's what has us worried, especially with the Henderson account presentation this afternoon. The Henderson account. I remembered that name from Kena's lies to her friends. I wish I could help, but I really don't know where she is. If you hear from her, could you please have her call the office immediately? Of course. After I hung up, I did some quick research on Sterling Communications. Mid-sized PR firm, good reputation, several high-profile clients. The kind of place where missing a major presentation would be career-ending. I wondered if Keena realized that her carefully constructed professional image was about to collide with her personal drama. My laptop chimed with a notification from our home security system. Someone was at our front door. I opened the app and saw Keena standing in the hallway, looking disheveled and frantic. She was jabbing at her phone with one finger while trying to use her keycard with the other. The keycard that I'd deactivated at 6 a.m. I watched her try the card 3 more times before she started pounding on the door. Then she pulled out her phone and tried to call me. The blocked call went nowhere, of course. After 5 minutes of increasingly desperate door pounding, she gave up and walked back to the elevator. I switched to the parking garage camera and watched her get into her BMW and drive away. My phone rang immediately. Bobby again. "Dude, your wife just showed up at the gym looking like she'd been hit by a truck. She's demanding to know where you are." "What did you tell her?" "That I haven't seen you, which is technically true, since you're not here right now." "Good man." "She's also asking if I know anything about her bank accounts being frozen." "Frozen? That sounds serious." "Yeah, she seems pretty upset about it. Also, she keeps trying to call someone, but whoever it is isn't answering." "Travis, probably. If someone had really vandalized his car, he was likely dealing with insurance companies and tow trucks instead of answering his phone." "I should probably come in for my usual workout," I said. "What time works for you?" "How about 7 tonight, after the dinner rush?" "Perfect." I spent the rest of the day working from home, monitoring the digital chaos I'd unleashed while handling my regular IT consulting clients. Around 3 p.m., I got a call from an unknown number. Jace Arnell. "Mr. Arnell, this is Detective Lisa Rodriguez with Metro Police. I'm calling about a harassment complaint filed by your wife." My stomach tightened, but I kept my voice calm. "What kind of harassment?" "She claims someone has been tampering with your shared residence and blocking her access to joint financial accounts." "That's interesting. What did you tell her?" "Well, sir, that's why I'm calling. According to our records, you're both listed as residents of the property, and both names are on the financial accounts in question. Is that correct?" "Yes, that's correct." "And have you made any changes to access codes or account settings recently?" I chose my words carefully. "Detective, I've made some adjustments to our home security system and our banking arrangements, but nothing that violates any laws or agreements." "I see. And these changes were made using your own legal access to these systems?" "Absolutely." "Well, Mr. Arnell, I have to tell you that what you've described doesn't constitute harassment or any other crime. Your wife may not like the changes, but you have every legal right to manage your own accounts and property." "I appreciate you looking into it, Detective. However, I would recommend that you and your wife work out these domestic issues through proper legal channels rather than creative problem solving." "Understood." After the detective hung up, I felt a surge of satisfaction. Keena had tried to weaponize the police against me and learned that her victim narrative didn't hold up to legal scrutiny. At 6:30, I drove to Bobby's gym. The evening crowd was starting to thin out, leaving mostly the serious lifters and people who worked late downtown. Bobby met me at the door with a grin that could have powered the building. "Oh, man, you missed the show," he said. "Your wife came back around 4 p.m. with some guy in an expensive suit. Tall, dark hair, looked like he spent more on his haircut than I spend on groceries." Travis. "What did they want?" "To know where you were, what you'd been doing, whether you'd said anything to me about their situation." "And?" "I told them the truth. That you come here to work out, we talk about sports and work stuff, and I mind my own business." "How did they take that?" "The guy got all puffed up, started talking about how he was going to handle this situation and make sure you understood the consequences of your actions." I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the air conditioning. "What did you say?" I told him that threatening people in my gym was a good way to get permanently banned, and that everything he'd said was being recorded by our security cameras. "Was it?" "Oh yeah, high-definition audio and video. Want to see?" Bobby led me to his office and pulled up the security footage on his computer. The video showed Keena and Travis standing near the front desk, both looking agitated. Travis was gesturing aggressively while Keena stood slightly behind him, arms crossed. The audio was crystal clear. "Look, I don't know what kind of game Jace is playing," Travis was saying, "but it ends now. He's messing with things that are none of his business." "It's not a game," Keena replied. "He's trying to ruin my life because he can't handle the truth." "What truth is that?" Bobby's voice came from off camera. "That his wife doesn't love him anymore," Travis said. "That she's found someone who can actually take care of her." "By take care of her, you mean paying for hotel rooms with her husband's money?" The silence that followed was deafening. "You don't know what you're talking about," Keena finally said. "Maybe not. But I know what I see. And what I see is 2 people who think they're smarter than everyone else, when really they're just making a mess." Travis stepped closer to the camera. You need to tell your friend that some things are bigger than his hurt feelings. Some people have connections that can make life very difficult for someone who doesn't know when to back down. Is that a threat? It's friendly advice. Bobby paused the video. Want to see the rest? There's more? Oh, there's more. After they left, I called my buddy Mike, who works security at Travis's building. Turns out Mr. Hotshot is 3 months behind on his rent, and his car got repossessed this afternoon. Repossessed? Apparently, someone called his financing company and reported that the vehicle had been used in the commission of a crime. They had to investigate, and during the investigation, they discovered he'd missed his last 4 payments. I stared at Bobby. Someone called his financing company? Anonymous tip, according to Mike. Very detailed, very specific. Included photos of the car parked at hotels during times when it should have been at Travis's office. Interesting. Yeah, very interesting. Almost like someone had been tracking his movements and documenting everything. Bobby's grin was infectious. So, want to grab dinner? I know a great place that just started serving their evening menu. The restaurant Bobby chose was a small Italian place in Little 5 Points, the kind of neighborhood spot where the waiters knew your name and the wine came in actual glasses instead of plastic cups. We got a table near the back, away from the dinner crowd. So, Bobby said after we'd ordered, want to tell me what's really going on? I took a sip of my wine and considered how much to reveal. Bobby was my best friend, but he was also the kind of guy who couldn't keep a secret if his life depended on it. Keena's having an affair, I said simply. Yeah, I figured that much out. What I want to know is how you went from discovering it to completely dismantling their lives in less than 24 hours. I didn't dismantle anything. I just removed my support from their activities. Bobby laughed. Dude, Travis's car got repossessed. Keena's locked out of her own home, and according to gym gossip, she missed a major presentation at work today. That's not removing support, that's strategic warfare. He wasn't wrong, but I wasn't about to admit that out loud. Sometimes when you stop enabling someone's bad behavior, the consequences catch up with them quickly, I said. Uh-huh. And I suppose you had nothing to do with those photos showing up on City Buzz? What photos? Bobby shook his head. You're good, I'll give you that. But you're also playing with fire. Travis seems like the kind of guy who doesn't take humiliation well. What's he going to do? Sue me for accessing my own bank accounts? He might do something stupider than that. As if on cue, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. We need to talk. Tonight. Travis. I showed Bobby the message. His expression darkened. Don't even think about it, he said. I wasn't planning to respond. Good. Because guys like that don't want to talk. They want to intimidate. And intimidation has a way of escalating. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a photo message. Travis and Kana sitting in what looked like a hotel bar, both holding drinks and smiling at the camera. The message that followed read, Your wife seems happy. Maybe it's time to accept reality. Bobby leaned over to look at the screen. What a piece of work. I studied the photo more carefully. The timestamp showed it had been taken 2 hours ago, but something felt off about it. The lighting was wrong, and Keena's smile looked forced. Bobby, can you do me a favor? Depends what it is. Can you reverse search this image? See if it shows up anywhere else online? Bobby pulled out his phone and ran the photo through several search engines. After a few minutes, he looked up with a confused expression. That's weird. The image metadata says it was taken 3 weeks ago, but the timestamp on your message says 2 hours ago. So it's an old photo? More than that. Look at this. He showed me his screen. The same photo was posted on Travis's Instagram account 3 weeks ago with the caption, Reunited, and it feels so good. But it was deleted the next day. I felt a surge of anger that surprised me with its intensity. Not only was Travis trying to manipulate me with fake evidence, but he'd been documenting his affair with my wife on social media. There's more, Bobby continued. I found 2 other photos from the same night. One shows them at dinner, the other at what looks like a hotel pool. Send them to me. Jace, send them. Bobby forwarded the photos, and I saved them to my encrypted evidence folder. Then I opened my laptop and started typing a response to Travis's message. What are you doing? Bobby asked, accepting his invitation to talk. I thought we agreed that was a bad idea. No, you said it was a bad idea. I said I wasn't planning to respond, but plans change. I typed, You're right. We should talk. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m. at Hardcore Fitness. Bring Kana. Bobby stared at me. Are you out of your mind? Maybe. But if Travis wants to play games, let's play games. On my turf, with witnesses, and with cameras recording everything. What if he doesn't show? Then I'll know he's all talk. What if he does show? Then things get interesting. I sent the message and closed my laptop. Either way, this ends tomorrow night. The next day passed in a blur of work calls and preparation. I spent the morning handling client issues, and the afternoon setting up what I privately called the stage. Bobby had agreed to stay late at the gym, ostensibly for equipment maintenance, but really to make sure we had witnesses if things went sideways. He'd also positioned the security cameras to capture every angle of the main workout floor. I arrived at 7:30 p.m. and found Bobby adjusting the lighting to make sure the cameras had optimal recording conditions. "You know," he said without looking up, "there are easier ways to handle a divorce. This isn't about the divorce. This is about making sure they understand that actions have consequences. And if they don't show, then I go home and file the paperwork tomorrow morning." At 7:55, Travis's replacement car pulled into the parking lot. A rental sedan, I noticed, much less impressive than the repossessed Maserati. Canna got out of the passenger side, looking nervous and overdressed for a gym confrontation. Travis emerged from the driver's side wearing a suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. They walked into the gym together, Travis slightly ahead as if he owned the place. "Jace," Travis said, extending his hand like we were meeting for a business lunch. "Thanks for agreeing to talk." I didn't shake his hand. "You said we needed to talk, so talk. Look, I think we got off on the wrong foot. This situation doesn't have to be adversarial." "What situation is that?" Travis glanced at Keena, who was staring at her shoes. "The situation where your wife has fallen in love with someone else." Interesting way to put it. I would have said the situation where my wife has been lying to everyone and using our joint resources to fund her affair. "That's not," Keena started to say, but Travis cut her off. "The point is, these things happen. People grow apart. They find new connections. The mature thing is to handle it like adults." I agree completely. That's why I've already started the process of separating our finances and living arrangements. Travis's confident expression flickered. "What do you mean?" "I mean, Keena is free to pursue whatever connection she wants, but she'll be doing it with her own money and her own resources." "You can't just cut her off," Travis said, his voice rising slightly. "She has rights. Absolutely. She has the right to exactly half of what we built together, which after accounting for her spending on your relationship comes to about 30% of our assets." "That's not how divorce works," Keena finally spoke up. "I'm entitled to spousal support, half the property, half the retirement accounts." "You're entitled to what the law says you're entitled to," I interrupted, "which might be less than you think, considering the documentation I have of your affair and the financial misconduct." Travis stepped closer, and I could smell his expensive cologne mixed with something that might have been desperation. "Look, Jace, I don't think you understand who you're dealing with here. I have connections in this city. I can make things very difficult for you." "What kind of connections?" "Business connections, political connections, the kind of people who can affect your career prospects." I smiled. "You mean the kind of people who hire IT security consultants to protect them from exactly the kind of financial irregularities that got your car repossessed?" The color drained from Travis's face. "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about the fact that I know exactly who your connections are, because half of them are my clients, and I'm willing to bet they'd be very interested to know how you've been financing your lifestyle." "You don't know anything." "I know that your strip mall businesses generate about $60,000 a year in legitimate income. I know that your penthouse costs $8,000 a month in rent. I know that your car payments were $1,200 a month. And I know that you've been covering the difference with money borrowed against properties you don't actually own." Travis's hands clenched into fists. "You've been investigating me?" "I've been protecting myself, which is what any good IT security specialist does when someone threatens them." Bobby stepped closer, ostensibly to adjust a piece of equipment, but really to position himself within reach if things escalated. "Here's what's going to happen," I continued. "Keena and I are getting divorced. She's going to get exactly what she's legally entitled to, which is a fair but not generous settlement. You're going to stay away from me and my property, and both of you are going to accept that your actions have consequences." "And if we don't?" Travis asked. "Then I release the full documentation of your financial irregularities to the appropriate authorities, along with the evidence of Keena's misuse of company resources for personal affairs." Keena's head snapped up. "What company resources?" "The Henderson account meetings that never happened, the client dinners that were actually dates, the business trips that were actually romantic getaways, all charged to Sterling Communications and all documented in detail." "You can't prove any of that." I pulled out my phone and showed her a screenshot of her own credit card statement, with charges highlighted and annotated. Company card, personal use, falsified expense reports. Your boss is going to love seeing this." The silence stretched for nearly a minute. Finally, Travis spoke. "What do you want?" "I want you to leave. Both of you. I want you to handle the divorce through lawyers like civilized people. And I want you to understand that the next time you try to threaten or manipulate me, the consequences will be much worse than a repossessed car." Travis looked like he wanted to say something else, but Keena grabbed his arm. "Let's go," she said quietly. They walked toward the exit, but Travis stopped and turned back. "This isn't over," he said. "Yes," I replied, "it is." After they left, Bobby and I stood in the empty gym, listening to the hum of the air conditioning and the distant sound of traffic. "Well," Bobby said finally, "that was anticlimactic. The best confrontations usually are. All the real work happens before people start talking. So what now? Now I go home, file the divorce papers, and get on with my life. And them?" I shrugged. "They'll figure out how much they actually like each other when they don't have my money to spend." As I drove home through the city streets, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Peace. Not happiness, exactly, but the calm satisfaction of a problem solved and a threat neutralized. The truth was, I'd never wanted to hurt Keena or Travis. I just wanted them to stop hurting me. And sometimes, the best way to make people stop hurting you is to remove their ability to do so. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Thank you." I didn't recognize the number, but I had a feeling I knew who it was from. Someone else who'd been hurt by Travis's schemes and was grateful to see him get a taste of his own medicine. I deleted the message and drove home to my empty condo, where the smart home system welcomed me with normal lighting and a thermostat that displayed my name instead of passive-aggressive messages. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I was home.